everyone, and welcome. So, today I decided I want to try to challenge myself to create my own layer cake or tile pack. And you can see here I have some leftovers of a tile pack from Free Spirit, and these are K facet fabrics. The great thing about tile packs or layer cakes is that you generally get one or two squares, 10-inch squares of a designer specific collection. And it's just a really nice way to sample a whole collection. But I wanted to see if I could use some men's shirts and reclaim the fabric from these men's shirts. People aren't really dressing in formal business wear anymore. These were donated to me or gifted to me by a dear friend who was a professional businessman and traveled all over the world. These shirts are actually handmade in Hong Kong, and they've they're from the clean. They haven't been worn. They just gotten, I'm sure years ago, taken to the cleaner and pressed really nicely. So they're in really good shape. I think there might be a couple little spots on them, but I wanted to see how many 10-inch squares I could reclaim from these shirts. And I'm going to make one of my favorite, it's my all-time favorite block. And I use it in a lot of my quilt patterns. So there's that. And that's my plan for these. And then when I get done, I'm hoping it will turn out so nice that I could gift him this quilt back of his men's shirts from his long career as a businessman. So let's see how much I can get from one shirt. So if you were going to be try to do this with some reclaimed shirts, I would recommend that you look to see what are the fabric contents. Are they 100? Is it 100% cotton? Is there some polyester in it? And these are all very high quality fabrics. Because these are handmade, it doesn't say on here what the fabric is, but it feels like a cotton. And of course, you may want to launder yours before would start cutting them. I've counted the shirts and I have a total of 9 shirts. So let's start cutting this first one and see how many 10-inch squares we can get out of it. I'm also thinking that if there are pieces that I'm able to get other um, size cuts out of it, that I will go ahead and do that cutting while I'm doing this, just so that I can put it in my scraps. I always have the intention that I'm going to cut my scraps up into, 2.5-inch squares or 3.5-inch squares, but sadly, that isn't what happens here. It just goes in a bin till I need it the next time. I don't know if you're like me. You can let me know in the comments if that's how you do it, but that's what's happening in my studio. So I'm going to start by cutting at the seams. So this is a side seam of the shirt and down the sleeve. And I'll probably cut around this placket here because there will be some fabric that we'll be able to get here. It'll need to be pressed because of that crease. And these do have pockets on them, so we'll lose that area where the pocket is. Although we might be able to get a 2.5-inch square out of the pocket. So let's get cutting. So I'm going to start by just using some scissors and cutting along these seams. I just love the idea of being able to regift this quilt to my friend. His name is Gene, by the way. He's just such a lovely man, and I've gotten to know him over the last 10 years, and I enjoy going to his winery. And not much of a wine drinker, but he does make beautiful wine, and it is a very popular place. It's just down the road from my house. Look at all that fabric. Let's see how much. Let's measure this and see how much is here. So we'll definitely be able to get one 10-inch square out of the. We have 10 inches of width in the sleeve, so that's good. And then we'll cut around the placket. And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I could repurpose all these buttons too. I have quite the collection of buttons. I have clients that travel all over the world, and sometimes they'll ask me, is there something you'd like to have? I'm going to Russia. And I don't want to ever ask for anything that's cumbersome that would take up space in their luggage. So I'm like, well, if you come across some buttons, I'd love some buttons. So I have buttons from all over the world and such lovely memories of the people who have given them to me. And I hope to someday use them, although it's kind of like a memory box in a way. So it's hard to use them sometimes. Let's see how much we'll be able to get out of one of these backs. So there is like 24.5 inches of fabric just right there that we're going to get. So just out of the back of one of these, I bet we'll probably get like 4 10-inch squares. This would be a really great activity to do and put on a show on Netflix. And sorry about that. I think I hit the camera. I think probably what's going to be a really good strategy for this is to cut them apart and then take them over to the ironing board and press them out. So now I'm working around the front. I think I'll just leave that placket on for right now. Another sleeve. So as quilters, do you have a favorite block that you like to do? Are you a half square triangle person? Do you like to do a disappearing 9 patch? I'm really interested to hear. And what size blocks do you like to create? Are you what the- some blocks are odd numbers or even numbers? I believe that the block that I'm creating is going to be 15-inch block, maybe. And yeah. So we have a second sleeve. So 2 sleeves and a back. And here we have the front. The tailoring on these shirts is so expert. I used to do a lot of garment sewing, and then after a while, I didn't really. I had made so much for myself. I didn't really have a need to continue to do it, but I still wanted to sew, and that's how I ended up really getting into quilting. And then one thing led to another, and we've got some buttons here um, to take, and here's our other side cuff and another cuff. So we'll set that off to the side. I'm going to go press these out, and we'll see how many squares we get. So I have everything pressed out, and I have gone ahead. This is the back of the shirt, and I've lined it up on my cutting mat here, and it looks like I may get as many as 6 10-inch squares out of a back. Um, so I have a square ruler here, and I have it folded in half. So we'll take that fold up to 10 inches, and so let's make our first cut. I'm going to turn this cut edge to this side, and then maybe we'll be able to stack them to cut them. I don't know. Maybe we will only get 4. I do like to condense the cutting as much as possible when I'm cutting fabrics. If I can do it accurately. If it means that we're going to bungle it, then I don't do it. And sadly, we're only going to get 4. So, because we only, because of the hem on the bottom of the shirt, um, I think we can get maybe like a 7.5 inch square, which is kind of an odd size. So I don't think I'm going to commit to cutting this section. I'll set this aside, but let's line these up. That's pretty good. 4 squares out of a back. Feel pretty good about that. And we are going to be doing some subcutting for the quilt blocks that I'm going to do. So there'll be a little bit more cutting to go to set us up to do our blocks. I think I'll have to work on not moving the fabrics so much so that they stay square. But I'll get better at that as I work through this. So we'll stack these up. So there we have 4 10-inch squares. Let's see if I can stack these on top of each other. And we have you can kind of see the outline of the pocket there. So I think we're only going to get 2 out of this. I'm going to go up as high as I can because there will be a good 5 inches off the bottom that we could maybe do 5-inch squares. And I'm not going to be bothered with cutting extra. I got to stay in keeping with my MO of not following through on certain things. Some of you are so good at that, but just work my way around here because there's a lot of fabric there. So far, one shirt we're up to 6. And we still have our sleeves. Definitely think, and I've only just cut up one shirt, but my once we get the initial plan down here, then I'll sit down and actually the Tour de France is on right now, and I am way behind. I love to watch the Tour de France, and partly because I love watching the countryside go by, and let's see how we can best utilize this. I think I'll go this side. The reason why I flip this is that if I go this way, then I'll have more yardage here that's left over. And I'm looking at my guides on my ruler here. See, did I make it through? Look at that. So that's pretty good. We've got like 6 squares out of just one shirt, and we have 9 to go. So I got 6 10-inch squares out of one shirt. I have 9 total. Um, don't ask me to do math on the fly. I can't do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut up the rest of these shirts. I'm going to do a replay of one of the days of the Tour de France and cut these shirts up. And when I get done, I will come back and show you all the fabrics that we've been able to reclaim from these 9 shirts. So I've got all of my 9 men's shirts cut up, and I was pleasantly surprised I was able to get 8 10-inch blocks from one shirt. And so I did the math ahead of time, and it was 72 blocks that I was able to get. And certainly, if the shirts are smaller or larger, you would get less or more. So there's that. But I'm really excited for what I have in mind for these blocks. And I'm going to show you my favorite block that I use a lot in the patterns that I design using some of these blocks. But before I do that, if you could give this video a like, and if you're a subscriber and you want to see notifications for when I'm going to be putting up a video, hit the notification button so that you know that there's something new for you to watch. I'm hoping that you enjoy this content. I enjoy making it for you and love sharing the things that I'm interested in, and I think you probably are too. So let me show you what I'm going to do with these blocks. So here are my stacks that I have, and um, you can just see that there's a little bit of color, a little bit of pattern, and then we have like 3 shirts that were solid white. So there's not a lot to see there, but I have some of the fabrics cut up, and I wanted to show you how this block goes together. So you have 4 squares, and this is one 10-inch block. And then you'll have these smaller squares, and they're going to go in the corners, um, opposing each other on all 4 of these blocks. And these corners I always keep consistent throughout the whole quilt. These larger squares will change from block to block, but I always keep the corners the same. And what we're going to do with these corners is we're going to sew diagonally from corner to corner. And my tip to you is to stay on the outside of the corner so that when you fold this piece over, you don't end up with a little dog ear sticking out. there, and just trim off the excess. So we will sew those 4 up and trim them and press them. And then we have these pieces here, and they will go like so. And then we have our center. So I'm going to go sew up these larger squares with the smaller squares and press those and show you the finish. So I have my squares attached to my larger square here, and I've gone ahead and trimmed the excess off. And sometimes if there's enough left over on a triangle, I'll do a secondary seam so I can just trim in the middle of the 2 seams and have another half square triangle from it. But it really wasn't going to be that big, so I went ahead and just tossed it. So we have those 4 done, and note the orientation of this main fabric and that they're pointed towards the center. Now we'll sew these rectangles, and we'll sew to one side, and I have them set up here how you would sew them together. So we'll sew 3 rectangles to our corner squares, and then we will attach this rectangle square unit like so. And then with these 2 sewn together, we'll sew this to the other side of the rectangle. And then lastly, we'll add this final square to this unit. So I'm going to go ahead and sew these, and I'll show you the final unit. So here is our final square, and I think it turned out terrific. And when you consider that this is all reclaimed fabric, that is just amazing. So this was done with all fabrics from the shirts. But I have a couple of examples here of incorporating some fabrics that I did get at my local quilt store. And so some of these here are from the Fat Quarter bundle. I did get some neutral yardage and a little mini gingham in a off-white and a tan, and it really makes some of the fabrics from the shirts pop. And here again, another one, and here's another one. So you can see how even if you only are using it for certain parts of your block, using some reclaimed, but then go ahead and, look in your stash, see if you have something that will work. And it does that way it's not so matchy matchy, and it gives it more of a curated quilty vibe. So I am really excited to finish up these blocks. I've got 3 made, and I'm thinking that there's going to be like 36 blocks total. So there's that. And so the pattern for this, I will put in the comment or in the caption below, is called Delft Sideboard. And it's named that because of the tile pack that it was designed for a fabric company. But again, one of my favorite blocks. I use it all the time. Give it a go. And you can find the pattern on my website. There's a PDF download there for you if you're interested. And bye for now, and happy stitching, and I'll see you in the next video.